Hello friends, so we are on the second part of the road trip on the North Coast Road. Of course, if you want to see me come into here, you would have to see the first part. But in this second part, basically I am going to reverse out, turn around and head back. This is a long road that follows the north coast of Trinidad, and this was the end of it basically. I mean, there's a little space up ahead, but nothing really. It was just a lot of mud, and I didn't want to get stuck there, so I figured I'll just turn around. But this is as far as you can go basically, and so we're gonna head back. For those of you from abroad who are not familiar with Trinidad and Tobago, this particular island is called Trinidad. It's of course a tropical island, and Trinidad is located in the southernmost part of the West Indies, the Caribbean. It's the last island in the Caribbean to the south, and it's near to Venezuela. So if you can't find it on a map, have a look and look for Venezuela, and then look east of Venezuela. You'll see what looks like the shape of a little boot. Trinidad has the shape, it looks like a boot, at least to foreigners it does. It's a small island, around 1.3, 1.4 million people here. So it has a high population density. Today is a sunny day with a lot of clouds. There's sometimes Saharan dust, but that doesn't really bother us because we will be covered by the overgrowth of trees on both sides of the road. This road, by the way, I mean, this part isn't maintained well because hardly anybody comes here, or just one or two people that may live here or want to go on a hike. This part isn't really maintained much, but it was originally built by the US military during World War II. And this road stretches a good distance from one part of the island to the next. And to see how long it is, you could of course look at the first part of my video, but also a video called Maracas, which was the start of the journey. And this is an example right here of what I've been saying, that it's not really maintained. There's a lot of mud. So if it's your intention to come up here to see what it's like, make sure you're driving a 4x4, you have mud tires, all-terrain tires, a SUV, a truck or something. I would not come in here with just a regular sedan or car or whatever, because you're probably gonna get stuck. That pool of water ahead, that's probably has a foot or maybe two in some places drop, so you want to make sure that you're driving the right vehicle. Again, as I've said in my other videos about driving on the North Coast Road, if you're an inexperienced driver, you just got your license, or you don't know how to drive, or you're not familiar with roads in Trinidad, I would not recommend you driving here. So if you just came from abroad and you're thinking, oh, let me rent a car and go up the North Coast Road, I really recommend that you do not do that, not only because of the road itself, but because of the way people drive here. It could give you a fright. I actually have a whole series called Crazy Driving in Trinidad on my YouTube channel. You can look for it. And that's to tell you how bad driving is here, that I can actually have a series of videos on it that I update every now and again. So I'm waiting for my son to get out of the vehicle and go on the other side. I wanted to, for effect, have him record me going through all this mud. I know mothers out there, I'm not talking about mothers as in mommy, mothers as in MUDDERS, mud. People who like mud, going through mud, will like to see that effect, especially as I'm driving a D22 truck. While he does that, by the way, I wanted to say that JB's Man Cave is not only about Trinidad and Tobago or just the Caribbean. I cover a lot of issues. I cover a lot of islands, but I also cover issues in the world, thoughts on different places. For instance, Ukraine and the war there, and the sad things that the people have to go through. I give some thoughts about it. I may cover social or political. When I say I don't want to say I cover politics. I really don't. But sometimes, some of the things that politicians do does wind me up, and I might talk about it. But mostly I talk about social issues. I don't really like getting into politics because people just start, you know, pushing their side, their party or whatever, and I'm not interested in party politics. This is a family-friendly site. My children are on the spectrum, so sometimes I may also talk about that, and I'm also a vegan, and sometimes I might have videos about veganism, but I don't push anything on anybody. So this is me going through all that mud and water. The vehicle needs a good wash after this. Well, it's lots of fun. I mean, if you like this kind of thing, you want to wind down your windows and enjoy it. The fresh air up here is really nice. Looking at the green, the bamboo. And in this particular picturesque view, you can see a lot of bamboo. And as I have said before, bamboo is good for earth retention, so that it prevents landslides and whatnot. So as my son gets back into the truck, I also want to mention that, feel free to subscribe to JB's Man Cave. And when I say subscribe, you just have to press the subscribe button. There's a button that allows you to basically subscribe for free, and subscribing allows you to stay in touch with me, and it's sort of your way of saying, you know what, I like JB's Man Cave. But there's also a like button, so you can also like the video and whatnot. So there's a lot of overgrowth here, but we are going to continue down this road, and you will notice that on your right is basically a cliff, a big drop to the ocean. So again, this is not a place for new drivers or drivers who just got their license or not sure of the roads or whatever. You need to be an experienced driver to come up here, and most of all, I would not recommend if you are a foreigner or somebody unfamiliar with the roads in Trinidad to come up here either. Because I know some of you, you come here, you may want to rent a car and say, let me try that North Coast road that JB went up. But it's not just about the road itself, it's the drivers on the roads. I have a whole series about crazy driving in Trinidad, and that's how bad the driving is here. Sometimes I almost call it like a risk. Of course, you don't have crazy drivers all the way up here, but basically on the roads, especially the first part of the North Coast Road, going towards Maracas, you get a lot of crazy drivers, and they will fly around corners, and you can get hit if you can't anticipate them. So this part of the road is fairly nice. It's paved, but we will go back towards muddy roads. But as I was driving around here, I was looking down the cliff, and I was noticing that I saw people, and I thought, wait a second, I don't see any path down. But then I saw people walking, and I stopped. And sometimes you wonder, should I go, should I continue, or whatever, because sometimes you don't want to intrude on anybody, and you don't know if it is private land or a private area. So I thought, you know what, I would just continue. But then I said, nah, I suppose I'm missing an opportunity to record something good. And then I decided, look, let me stop again and check, because you can see the ocean there on your right. And I was thinking, maybe there's something really good to see down there. And I am glad that I did, because it enabled me to find a small beach that is public. And of course, if you enjoy my videos and you would like to become a patron, please do. You can go to my site jbmancave.com or jboard.com. There's a donate button there, and feel free to give a donation of any amount that you can. There's a select box where you can select how much you want to donate. I appreciate all of you who have given donations, both in the chat box as well as privately. That's really appreciated, helps out a lot. But there's no obligation and there's no push for it. It's just if you can afford it. So you can see somebody's coming up there, and I thought, oh, I would have never really found that. So we got out, and I'm gonna go down to a path, if you ever come all this way, where you can, I believe, sea bathe. Now I have not tested the waters, so do not take my tip or my hint of this beach as gospel. Make sure that you find out about the waters and test them, because like I said in the Maracas video, it's not just about what you can see above, but what's underneath. If there are strong currents underneath, that can pull you out, and where we are going, of course, has no lifeguards, so be very careful. When I got down there, I did not see anybody bathing. I only assumed that these people that we passed and that we will meet down there were bathing. I'm helping some of my children come down here. They are not, they're a bit shy about coming down in these kinds of areas because it's a bit slippery. You can't tell, and so I wasn't able to hold the camera well at the same time. But I just love these kind of little trails. It's like you're going down to something and you're not sure what you're gonna meet. It's like a surprise. But it's all the good thing about nature. So based on how the leaves are and everything, I can tell that when it rains, this path that we're going down would be very slippery. I mean, really slippery. Everything's just coming down here. Although there's a little river on the right. So if you see me pause, it's because I'm helping my sons down. But you get to see some of the vegetation too. And if you're new to JB's Man Cave, you will know that I keep my videos raw. At least most of them, especially these road trips. And when I say raw, I'm talking about the fact that most people will start to edit this out and keep it just on the niceties, but I like to show you in a way that you can feel like you are there with me. So I don't do much editing except to blur here and there. Maybe if I see children or somebody up close, I might blur them out. But this is a nice bay. It's small, but looks pretty good. It looks like it could be rough, huh? And I didn't get close to the water either because I'm wearing shoes. I know you think that's ridiculous, but earlier in the day I had actually filmed the Maracas video and had my shoes on because I wanted to walk a lot. I didn't come with the anticipation of any sea bathing. But it looks pretty good, doesn't it? And I do apologize for the bit of shakiness. I don't know, I have to adjust my stabilizer. Sometimes when I'm walking a lot, I'm not really paying attention and the stabilizer is out of whack. That's just a little notice for you to remind you to subscribe. Subscriptions are free. Just have to click the subscribe button. Alright, so now that I have a bit of time to survey the beach, I am going to take the pole and put it here so you can just reminisce on the Caribbean Sea. See, the area is small, but nevertheless it looks really good. You never know how nice a beach is until you test the waters in the ocean, and maybe that's another time. Now there's some guys fishing there as well, and I was amazed at how near to the shore they were fishing, so which means it's probably something good enough to be caught there. And that little piece there you saw was called camera tricks. So this little part here is what is looks like a little river where water would come from down the mountain and fall here into the ocean. It's just a trickle right now because it's dry. So from my judgment, this bay, if you ever found it, wouldn't be too good to come when it's raining heavy. I know some people love to go sea bathing when it's raining, which I find kind of odd, but wouldn't be too good at that time. The sound is enabled so you can hear the sounds of the ocean. I love to hear the sound of the ocean, it's just so relaxing. There have been many studies about the effects of nature on the human mind and body. This is something that you actually need, and when I say something you need, to come out and experience nature. If you're all pent up in your apartment or your air conditioner at your job place, and you just go into your car air conditioner again, you're really missing out. You need the vitamin D from the sun, the fresh air for your lungs, the positive outlook for your mind, and so forth. And that can come only from nature itself. Just looking at green has a positive outlook for the human mind. So if you've been thinking about going to the beach, make sure and visit. Hopefully this is a bit of inspiration. I love to give the camera as low as possible till the water gets there and then raise it. My particular camera that I'm using right now is actually not waterproof. It's very much exposed to the elements, so it's a bit of a risk, but I time it. So after that little tour, we are going to go back up to the truck. Usually climbing up something that is slippery is a bit easier than climbing down. As a small tip, when going down, always go parallel, including going up. Always put your feet why did I say parallel? In the opposite direction of where you're going up. So if you're going up, your feet should be straight across, perpendicular. That way you don't fall. You don't want to keep your feet in the same direction of where you're going, whether it's down or up. There's another video that I'm gonna have out where we found another secret place similar to this. It doesn't take you to a beach, but it does take you out to a place where you can look. Again, I don't recommend any of these things if you're faint of heart or you're not adequately blessed physically to maneuver places where you could slip and fall, but take all the precautions. So going back up to the road, this is the North Coast Road. I decided to just take in some of the scenery. Again, just showing you the raw, because if you were here, you wouldn't be racing to get back in the truck, racing to go to the next place, racing. No, you would be just, looking around, taking the time to look at the leaves. And one thing about Trinidad and Tobago, the vegetation is very exotic. Sometimes you would encounter things that may puzzle the mind. Here I was checking for something that I heard in the tree. Sometimes you have to watch for hanging snakes in the bamboo. Snakes love the bamboo to hang high and drop. So you have to be very careful. And there are snakes that look just like the bamboo shoots. So you have to pay attention to your surroundings. You see that little river we met at the bottom by the beach? This is the start of it, and you can see it's kind of dry, but I can well visualize what this might be like when it's a lot of rain, a lot of water going down to that beach. These are the ATVs that you can rent. I covered that a bit in part 1. They allow you to come all up here. And I also captured this, which was interesting. See that fallen? Those are seeds, but they float like if it's snowing. Sometimes you can see a lot of them. I don't know if you can picture it in the lens in your view. If you're watching this on a big screen TV, which is the best way to watch my videos, you should be able to see them well. If you're watching this on a mobile phone, you may not pick this up. It looks like little cotton seeds. I don't know the scientific name. If you do, feel free to comment in the comment area. But when you do comment, please tell us what you're commenting about, because sometimes people will drop a comment, but you know, I have no idea what you're answering. So tell us what you're answering and which part of the video you're talking about. So I was really glad to get that. Sometimes it's hard to get because you know, you may see it, but you don't have a camera in hand, or it's from a tree very far away. That's our version of snow for Trinidad. I also have another video about snow-capped mountains. I don't know if you saw it, but it was about these clouds that covered the mountain in the same shape of the mountain. It looked like if the snow was covering it. It was very interesting. So you can see how these roads are very narrow. I'm amazed to see this one little barrier there. I think it's really cool. Some people, you know, their houses and stuff, what they do is, you know, to come out here and you know, set up a house or whatever is, you know, yeah, you really have to think out of the box and love outdoors and whatnot. And it's an investment too. I can't imagine what it'd be cost somebody to bring materials out here. You probably really need to have your own truck to do it. This is the part of the road I was saying they really need to fix. See right there? That's a big drop down to the ocean, and I'm not a geologist, but somebody can tell me that red color to me is just clay, and that's not really strong. Now here I gave my son the camera for the same effect that we had in the beginning. He's gonna walk to the other side and capture the truck coming, because this is the next piece of the worst roads on the north coast that I wanted to capture. I actually captured in the first part of the other video, part 1, a car coming through here. Yeah, I know it, I told you only a 4x4, but you will be able to see what happens with that car trying to come out there. It had to let out the passengers. He had to drive fast, and the vehicle was swerving all over the place. So it's not a place. Somebody lost their license plate there. I didn't just notice that. They see this video, they could come back for it. This would probably make a good place to mountain bike as well as run. But if you do run, And if you do mountain bike, you need to be ready to get muddy, and I mean really muddy. But you would have to be careful, huh? Because if you try to go on a cliff side, right there where my son is now, you could fall if you slip. So be very careful. So that's the truck coming. So you can get an idea of what it looks like. I really have to find a better way to blur my plate. Sometimes I forget to do a lot of stuff. This is the same footage of me coming through the mud, but just from the angle of the truck. So you saw what it was like as somebody observing me come in, and now you're gonna see what it's like inside the truck. And if you're new to JB Man Cave, you will wonder why inside the truck is always quiet, and that's because I mute the song because I always have my, not always, but most of the time I have my family with me, and I don't care for you to hear all the conversation and what we're saying. In fact, you don't need to hear that, so I would mute it. I do have a external mic setup, but there's sort of a compromise where it's either the camera charges or I give you the external mic. I need to get an adapter for that. But soon I will have that situation solved, and you'll learn about that in the coming weeks. Some new plans I have. So if you've never been through a road with lots of mud like this is what it's like. And so I'm going to wait here for my son to come back to the truck. In fact, I think when I got here it was really too muddy for him to come in, so I moved up a bit. And then we'll fast forward it a bit at some point because you don't need to, although I do have videos where I just leave it running real time, huh? I call those let's watch videos, and I have a lot of videos where you're just watching, for instance, a scene like this. But we spend a bit of time here, so I'm just fast forwarding it. So some of these places might have their own access to maybe a private beach or a private bay. And there you could see the coastline. It's really nice. Usually when I make these road trips, I tend to cover so much stuff. And I know probably you're saying, oh, you should come out there and record. But you know, basically I've been recording all day. But I also have some plans for that as well. When we first entered here, it seemed like forever, because you know, when you first enter an area, you feel like, wow, do these roads ever stop? Does it ever stop being muddy and with so many potholes and stuff? But you know, looking at it, going back out, it's the road is actually not so long. It's just that feeling of having to go slow and pass through these little challenging obstacles that makes it seem long. So here we are with more mud, but you can see there's a lot of residential areas around. Houses here and there, and you know, the people up here keep their places looking really good, huh? I don't know if they are resorts, guest homes or what, but it looks nice. Keeping the coconut trees is like, you know, you can only see coconut trees when you come in these areas. If you have seen any of my concrete building, concrete empire videos, meaning that, you know, the areas near the capital and most of the familiar areas of Trinidad, you'll see this heavily built up, and they just chop down all the trees in favor of buildings. You know, as a tropical island, we really need to keep it more green. Not to mention, green is healthy, as I expressed before. Good for your mind, good for oxygen and whatnot. I wonder if any garbage trucks come through here, and how often. If you know, feel free to comment on my YouTube channel and within this video. But if you do, let me know what you're answering. Because sometimes, again, people just answer, but they don't say what they're answering, so I really don't know what they're talking about. By the way, if anybody here is a resort owner, or you have a, you know, a beautiful place that you'd like to highlight, I wouldn't mind highlighting it. You just have to invite me and let me know. You can get the email from my YouTube channel or use my website address, jbmancave.com or jboard.com, and send me an email. Let me know where you are, what you have. I'm sure people would like to know about it, because a lot of people come to JB's Man Cave in anticipation of what they could do or see when they come to Trinidad, or even people in Trinidad. I've had some comments where people have said they've never been to some of these places in Trinidad, and they use these videos to judge whether they want to come or not. Now, in case you don't know, not all my videos are raw like this. Sometimes I will create videos that are edited and spruced up with effects and so forth. But those videos normally address issues or specific countries and so forth. Road trips like this tend to be raw. Because again, the idea is that you need to feel like if you were there. Feel all the bumps, feel all the shakiness and whatnot. Same with my walkthroughs. Now, by seeing those bridges, we know we have come to the end of the muddy part of this road trip. And I say the muddy part, huh? We still have a ways to go to get all the way back to Saddle Road and to get past the other end of the North Coast Road. However, you can see those ATVs, motorcycle, whatnot coming. They are coming because they're part of that same group where you can rent their vehicles. Sometimes they gather there or elsewhere. So that's one thing, one option you have. I talked about it in the first video. Giving you two angles here, one from the truck's camera and one me pointing out.
Right.
Missing all the shot. So you can see what it's like when if you intend to rent. Just keep in mind that you'll likely be going through mud, so wear a tire for that. So now that that's out of the way, we will continue across the bridge. And in continuing across the bridge, I was finally able to see somebody using a canoe. Is it a kayak? Can't remember the name. See them paddling down the right? I'll use the other camera at some point to capture that. Sometimes with shots, it all depends on if you're lucky. Sometimes you go to a place when you're hoping to see something to record, you can't see it, and it's only when you're gone then it comes. That's yet another thing that you can do up here, as well as another beach on across on that side, but I did not record that today. And I speed it up a bit here, waiting for those people to come out. So if you notice, most people will, when they see those two bridges, they will basically stay there and park. They won't go anymore because of the muddy areas. But like you saw from this video, unless you go through those mud areas to get to the other places, you're missing out. Places that you could visit and the adventure in itself. But we're back on asphalt now, and this will take us all the way back to Las Cuevas, to past Tyrico, past Maracas, keeping on the North Coast Road until we reach Saddle Road. Right here is an entrance. You pay, I think, $20 TT, like $3 US, and I guess there's something good there to see. Nice beachfront, but I didn't have access to that today. It was late. It's getting late for us, and I mean, this video in conjunction with part 1 and the Maracas Bay video was all done in one day. So I'm pretty exhausted, but don't worry, I will be coming back another day. And that's Blanchisseuse Beach on the right. You're getting a bit of it there, but it's just a lot of cars, a lot of people, so I didn't even bother, to be honest. I was checking it out to see if it calmed down a bit, but it didn't. I really didn't feel comfortable pulling out my camera and start recording. So we continue on the road. Now if you find there's a mist in the sky, that is Saharan dust. Comes all the way from Africa, blown across the Atlantic, and we get a lot of it here. There was a day that was really bad, and I even made a video about it. If you want to see it, and just make sure to do a search on my channel, or you could ask any comments that you would like to see it, and I'll link the video to you. I mean, it was really bad. It's the worst I've ever seen it. It literally was covering mountains. You couldn't see the mountains. It's almost Saharan dust. And of course, you can always know when you're on a road made in Trinidad, there are just numerous potholes. And I'm not stopping here, I'm just waiting for these vehicles to pass so that I can continue. Some of these roads, once somebody parks on the road, you really can't pass unless there's free traffic on the other lane. I wonder what it's like to live in a village like this. Basically kind of isolated from everybody else. If you are from Blanchisseuse, or you spent a good time here that you got a feel for the village, feel free to comment and let me know what it's like to live in Blanchisseuse, how you cope with getting access to various things that may be outside the bounds of the village. Having to drive all that way to Port of Spain or Arima in order to get something. Or maybe you have it set up here somehow that, I don't know, a courier service or something doing it for you. I'd also be interested to know if taxis come all the way here. I saw maxis, but I wonder if taxis do that too. What would be the price of a taxi from Port of Spain to here? I could well imagine that would be astronomical. And when you reach here, the road straight is going to take you to Blanchisseuse Road, and that road will take you to Arima. You can see the sign there on the left. Whereas we are going to turn right and continue on the North Coast Road. Not sure why I stopped there. Probably taking a picture of something. This church is a good landmark if you come in from this way, which would be the North Coast Road, to let you know that junction is near. As far as safety, these areas, I don't believe there's, you know, these areas count on tourists coming in, so people coming in should feel relatively safe because nobody wants to jeopardize the income that's derived from people coming to visit Blanchisseuse and the other beaches and stuff. But like all things, be vigilant. Don't be honky dory with the way you keep yourself and your belongings. There are people who I know like to walk around with all their jewelry and gold and show their fancy phones and highlight themselves. And while yes, you should be able to have the freedom to do that and do it if you like. But I'm just saying that there's always somebody looking at you, huh? And you need to watch yourself. Be vigilant. Go in groups. You know, don't overdo it. Be cautious. I know somebody that, for instance, they were on a beach and they took off their watch and left it on the sand with their towel and other stuff. And they went in the ocean and was looking at it from there, and they felt there was hardly anybody around, and they figured it wouldn't be a big deal. But when they got back, their watch was gone. There are just people that fast, so you have to be careful. If you're in the water, somebody else should be in the sand and so forth, keeping an eye. And don't venture to anywhere that you really don't know or you don't feel that you can get out easily. I know that's kind of ironic considering where we just came from, but I always like to feel out areas, the possibilities, and of course, with my truck, I didn't have much fears about being able to come out. So, what do you think about this road trip going to the end? Is that something you think you would like to tackle? That challenge? Driving all the way to the end of the North Coast Road? Is that something you would like to do? Do you have the vehicle that could do it? If you feel you could, feel free to comment on my YouTube channel. I know there are car rentals here that will rent pickup trucks, but I don't recall seeing them with all-terrain tires. They look like the tires of made for highway, so there is a chance that even though it may be a 4x4 or whatever, it could still get stuck. You may have to see if you could rent a SUV. But again, you'd have to have good tires, and I don't know if you'd want to take a rental car up there. I mean, it will get really dirty and muddy, and when you took the vehicle back, you would be under some pressure to get washed and clean and whatnot. Maybe if you have a friend or family member with a truck, they can do that. Yeah, take the time to clean, screen. There's a lot of stuff on it. Sometimes I'm so busy driving I don't realize that the camera is picking up every little thing that drops on the windscreen. The irony of some of these places though is that because locally they don't really map out things properly. I mean, they would just show a road, but there's nothing really to tell you what's the end of the road or what's along the way or any of those things. It really becomes like a unknown adventure, uncharted, and you're really discovering it for the first time. I'm glad this maxi stopped there because that would have really blocked the scene of that big maxi in front of you. And why, whereas most people are probably just showing you getting to the destination, I always like to show both going and both and coming back, because when you show both, what happens is you able to get two different perspectives of the place, because going and coming always looks different. You may notice certain things, yes, that you saw before, but the view is different. This would probably be helpful too if you might be feeling lost or you wondered, how long again before we get to X or Y place. Well, you get an idea from these videos. Because some people will ask me, how long did it take to go here? How long did it take to get? And you could see from the time in the. There's a big bus passing there. I had to go off road for it to pass. You can see from the timeline how long it takes, because more or less this video is unedited except for a very few parts where I switch cameras and so forth. You can get an idea of the time. This is not like a rush road. I mean, it's not a road that you want to be driving fast on or moving in a hurry. Take your time. Lots of potholes, lots of places that can be a little treacherous. I like this picket fence here and these pine trees. It reminds me to like a camping area. And these are some really sturdy walls with the sweet lime growing on it. The sweet lime is the green like ivy. Some sort of resort on private estate here. These places also tend to have their own access to the beach. And I would love to cover that if you are a owner of one of the houses up here and you would like for me to come. I wouldn't even charge you, I would just come and record it all just to display it. Show what a beach house is like. Just let me know. Let me know in the comments, or send me an email via my site. Or if you are a homeowner anywhere in Trinidad and you'd like me to come and film, record some aspect of your home that's unique, also send me a message. I might take you up on that. By the way, I have a lot of videos carded. You would probably notice that I'm starting to have more premieres, and that's because I have a lot of content to put out there. I have some really good ones of Freeport coming up. Those of you who are fans of Freeport, some other areas in Port of Spain as well, and some random footage on some of other Caribbean islands. I've been releasing some videos of Martinique. The footage there is really nice. You should look at it. One of the last ones I did was on nature. And you know, I like to look at the other islands too, because it's sort of a comparison of how we are doing tourist wise. Does it look like, you know, if we compare, you know, is this look palatable for a tourist versus the other islands? Why, you know, why come to Trinidad? I know Tobago has a touristic appeal, but Trinidad, I mean, there are specific places tourists could go, but I think a lot more needs to be done. You can always tell when the roads start to get a little smoother. Everybody takes off. You can see me driving a little bit faster now. Look at all those coconut trees on the right. That's how this island should be. Full of coconut trees like that. All like the ones on your left. Chinese coconuts and so forth. The soil here is richer. When I say here, I mean on the island itself in general. I mean, it's almost like you plant anything and it just grows. So there's really no excuse to plant stuff. See, like those bougainvillea we're passing on the right, crotons, lilies, coconut trees. As you can tell, I'm a fan of green. Oh, by the way, it just occurred to me, a lot of you will come to my channel and say, why don't I play the latest local music? Well, there's something called copyright. I can't just take music from anybody without a license and just start playing it. Doesn't work that way. I mean, I coulda, but then my videos would be sanctioned. Of course, I don't want to do that. So I play what I can and talk when I can. So if you're looking for the latest music from Trinidad, this channel will not be giving it to you. The other channels, I'm sure, do that. Or if you want, you can play your own music and just simply mute me and play it in the background. A lot of the music I do use is either available from YouTube or I have paid a license for it. So I'm able to use it by license. But I more or less try to use a alternative world music. Not everything is calypso because I simply do not have enough variety to last for 2 hours. For instance, this video is almost 2 hours long. And you know, even for any DJ, finding enough songs, because you know a typical song is like what, 3-4 minutes or less. You know, finding enough songs to fill that is quite a job without having to replay the same song. So this piece of road is really good. But this part here is a bit narrow. Look, it should have a sign there saying single lane, because they couldn't even put the center line there. This strip of road is pretty good. When you see a smooth strip of road in Trinidad, it's almost like you have to hold on to it and say your prayers, because at some point it'll be riddled with potholes. This strip of road also seems to be almost single lane. And on the left is the Blanchisseuse Secondary School, which we explored already in part 1 of this road trip. So the drive coming up here is nice, and the drive going back in the afternoon, evening is just as nice. I think at some point I will need to make a FAQ video, a frequently asked questions video. So many things people ask often or say often that lets me know they don't know much about how JB Man Cave operates. You can tell by, you know, some of their comments or whatever. Sometimes too with these roads, that when you're on them, they may have offshoot roads that turn left or right from the main road, and it could take you to some extraordinary site, some landmark or something. But you know, we can't stop on every road that we see. But when I try to look at the map and find things that look like it could be interesting. But if you ever have the time, you can do that sort of thing. I believe that was a Kingdom Hall Jehovah Witness church we just passed on the left. If you're familiar with this area, feel free to pinpoint any things that you think would be interest to us. There is a way where you can document exactly where you're talking about in a video using a timeline, hours, minutes, and seconds. You can look in my description of this video and you will see a key. Follow that same pattern and you'll be able to outline any particular place within a video. You can see that these people are in a hurry. I'm in no hurry. I'm just cool right behind here. I know the funny thing is about a lot of Trini drivers, they will go very fast and end up maybe 50 feet in front of you. and end up having to drive the same speed as you. We have a saying here, hurry to go nowhere. On the right is the coastliner, and if it wasn't for all these big trees, you would be able to see the ocean, but unfortunately you can't. There are places that you can stop and probably look out, but as you can see, this road is not one to be playing with. People are coming through fast, there are blind corners, so I wouldn't want to park here to look out. Whenever you answer the comments, feel free to let me know where you're from, when last you've seen Trinidad, or your plans for the future. Some of you do tell me, but some don't. Some just will say it's a nice video, whatever, and although I'm grateful for saying that, feel free to let me know more. One thing I want to do at JV's Man Cave is to build that spirit of community. You know, just hang out, be friends, talk in the aspect of leaving your comments. I will reply. I do look at all the comments. People that I think show a sustained or consistent manner of commenting, I just put them on automatic approve so they can comment whenever. For new people, I have it always moderated. And sometimes I get comments that are not family friendly. Not necessarily against me, but they're just saying things that are not, you know, criticizing people they see in the video or something like that. And I'm not really about that. And I don't want to make JB's Man Cave political or a place to just bash people or whatever. That's not my intention. I know if you see something that's a social issue, like, you know, keeping the place clean, leaving garbage all over, sure, I will let those comments go, because we do need to talk about that. People do need to know that they're doing the wrong thing by littering. But you know, seeing somebody on a video and criticizing how they look or where they are, whatever, I do not approve those. It's always family friendly. You can see Maracas up ahead. But we're a good distance from it, huh? Talking about way ahead. It's not where we are now is in passing by Las Cuevas. As I mentioned in part 1, I couldn't stop here because there was just too many people. I don't record when there are too many people. Not that I don't record because of the people themselves, but you know, people are in their bathing suit, their whatnot, and I don't want to be taking people when they are more or less exposed. So I will come back here another day when it's not so bad, you know, earlier, when we can actually go into the car park. It's so packed in there that you know most of the people parked on the outside, as you notice. And given by the number of maxis I'm seeing, they you know there's a whole bunch of people there. Worst time to record, and in my personal view, worst time to actually be on the beach. I like to be on the beach when it's free and open. You know, just a few people here and there, but not like people almost rubbing against you. Most people come to the Las Cuevas beach because it's calmer compared to the other beaches like Tarico or Maracas, where there are a lot of waves. Las Cuevas is calm. You may get a wave or two, but it's rare. So the water is good for swimming and stuff. The only thing I don't like about Las Cuevas is it's a bit small. So if there are a lot of people there, you really will feel congested. And if you haven't been there for many years, I will tell you it looks very different now because the Maracas of the Las Cuevas of the old days, for instance, when I was a child, was a beach that was covered with rocks, tiny pebbles. It was rocky, and one of the things that used to really annoy me about it was the sandflies. Lots of sandflies. So I never understood the interest in going there. But now it's a sandy beach. They moved all the rocks, and there's no more sandflies. So it looks really good. They made a park. They made proper steps and stuff to get down. So we'll have to explore that another day. As you can also see, the clouds are forming and getting little raindrops here and there. In Trinidad, it tends to rain always in the afternoon. I mean, you could get a rain shower anytime, but usually it will be sunny in the morning, and by afternoon, it will start to rain. I was glad that most of the day was sunny. We are on our way back now, so we're not stopping by any beaches, so if it rains a bit, it's okay. But till the end of this road trip, it really does not start to pour. This is the area on the right where I was saying that every time you come in this area, it's like more and more of the trees are removed, and it used to be a lot of patches of ground, but now a lot of grass has taken it over. But it seems to be maintained in some form. I'm interested to know what it's going to be. Now if you're hearing a dog barking in the background, that's neighbors' dogs. They have annoying dogs that aren't trained, so they just bark at anything. and I didn't bother to close my windows, so you get the full brunt of it. Funny as I'm saying that, I have a video on noise pollution. If you haven't seen it, check it out, about the noisemakers in Trinidad and Tobago. A big problem with people who like to make noise or are themselves just simply loud. As I've said in my other videos, I'm more of an introvert, conservative, quiet type of person, which you wouldn't gather from watching these videos, but I am a dad driven by his children. I don't know if you can tell, but we are ascending again. We have to ascend before we descend down to the Maracas Bay area. But we will be passing Tarico first at some point. There are also other paths to go down and view other bays, but as I said in part 1, I am not sure if there are any restrictions. In a lot of private areas now, Trinidad is not open as it used to be. A lot of gates, a lot of signs, no trespass, don't come here, or pay, or whatever. Growing up, Trinidad used to be a lot more open. Could basically access anything, but it's not that way anymore. And because it's not that way anymore, what happens is, whenever there is something, you get all this congregation of people, and it's kind of sad because Trinidad should really have a lot of stuff going on that not necessarily have to pay for. Parks, beaches, it shouldn't be just one or two, and they should be easily accessible. If you want to encourage people to do the right thing and not be in crime, that's one of the best ways to do it. Providing places where people can be entertained and happy. And that could be good employment for people too. Creating, look at how it looks like if it's snowing. See that? That's good employment for people. I mean, if you create more bees, then that's more places for people to work. They can, you have lifeguards. You will have to have people that clean up the beach, maintain the beach. Then people will be able to sell their food, the chairs, the umbrellas, whatever. You're providing opportunities the more you create, and it's the more the tourists will want to come to, because if everywhere they go they see a beach, it'll be like very enticing. But so now we just have one or two readily accessible beaches, and they're so far away too. Someone was commenting in my channel that they don't care for Maracas because it's just too far away for them. I mean, this is to me is a long road trip. I know we went the whole of the North Coast Road, but just for instance, from me coming from, let's say, Port of Spain and going to Maracas, that's a serious road trip, not to be taken lightly. It's something you really have to plan for and put effort into, prepare for. It shouldn't be like that. I mean, growing up as a kid, we used to access Shagaramas and all the beaches along that coastline and Macarape and whatnot easily. But now everything is blocked off. I have a video specifically on that also. And you can see this, the clouds are taking over the sky. That's Tyrico we just passed down the right. And it's cutting out all the color from the video. Hardly any blue. And we are back again at Maracas. You can see it there on the right. If you haven't seen it, I have a whole walkthrough of Maracas beach. I walk all along here. I walk through the fishing village. So you can see Maracas in a way that you haven't seen before. Funny thing is, there are so many signs saying no parking, and people still park there. The parking lots, a full parking lot on the left, and there are other ones higher up. Like they risk in order to avoid paying parking. So as we ascend here, we are leaving Maracas Bay, continuing on the North Coast Road and heading back west towards Saddle Road. By the way, as my channel grows, I will be diversifying. I mean, I already cover, besides Trinidad and Tobago, I also cover the islands and stuff, but I also want to go into more of the social issues, and I hope as the community grows that you will join me in talk about these issues, sometimes world issues. I always find that Trinis are great to talk about, sometimes frivolous things, but I like to talk about serious topics as well. I know a lot of you come have not been in Trinidad for a long time and you want to see what it's like, or you're planning a trip to the Caribbean and you want to see what it's like, but I hope you'll also stick around for other conversations we as friends. Don't just come and look at my videos and leave. Come on. Stick around, let's have a chat. Talk about other stuff too. I don't know if you've seen these dogs, but it's weird. Some of these dogs, like, they don't want to leave the road. One of them's on the right, just in the middle of the road, and the other one there on the left seem to be not bothered about cars passing right next to his feet. Alright, I'm picking up a little speed here because we're ascending a lot. And driving a manual on a mountain after a long day of walking up and down is not exactly fun. So I try to gain speed in order to, as I start to slow down going up the mountain. Now in well, I shouldn't say part 1, but in the Maracas video when we started this North Coast road trip, I had shown you a lookout that enables you to see Maracas beach and the whole bay area. And it's really good if you have a nice day. I can't tell you when last I went up there and it was a really nice day to take pictures. Usually something's wrong. It's raining, the clouds it's a lot of clouds, there's a lot of Saharan dust, the sun is in your camera. There's always some issue, but we are nevertheless going to take a look at it. Just now you'll see it. And if you're coming from the other direction, it's easy to access that lookout, but when you're coming from this direction, it's a bit difficult because it's right on a blind corner, and by blind corner I mean you cannot see cars coming from the other side of the road, so you have to be very careful if you're going there from this direction. I would have stopped there first in the Maracas Bay video, but like I said, the sun was shining into the camera and you wouldn't have been able to see much. This is another small lookout as well, but it's not the one I'm talking about. And this is it coming up here, and you will look, if you can see the road on the left bears left, but it's really hard to tell if any cars are coming there. So like I said, be very cautious when you're turning. Those tents are set up to sell various snacks, foods and whatnot. And I believe that path going down would take it to another beach. I believe so, but it's private. If you know how I can access that, or you happen to be the owner or know the owner, feel free to contact me. I'd love to record it. So there you can see the Maracas Bay. It's on the other side of that ridge. But nevertheless, it's a nice shot from here. But as you can see, lots of clouds, Saharan dust. Still a sight to behold, but not a good shot. That's why I didn't even bother to stay around much, because it was also raining a bit, and this particular camera I have is not waterproof. I didn't have the waterproof housing on it. So that was that. I mean, we could have spent a lot more time here showing you other things, but I don't have the chance. Poodle looks like it's having fun in our truck though. And I know it looks like it's really gonna rain bad, but we don't get much of it, thankfully. Now I know it looks like if I'm going back downhill, but don't let that fool you. At some point I'll go back up again. That's just how this road is. You go up and down the mountains. Most of it always seems up to me than down. And as you can see, the roads are fairly narrow, no line markings, so and people tend to bear around those corners pretty fast. So it's not a place, like, as I've said before, not for somebody that's a novice driver or just got a license, or maybe you've been driving a while but you're just not sure. You know, I wouldn't come on here or venture here. And don't even think about letting it become dark driving here. That's just a no-no. As you can see, there's no street lighting. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be stuck up here. For those of you who are into 4x4s, I don't use my 4x4 to get up here. Just gear 2 and 3 mostly, sometimes 4. I mean, I have done it using engaging my 4x4, but I don't know, sometimes it doesn't seem necessary. The engine could handle this without engaging that. No, there's a funny little statue here. I don't know who created it, but somebody created it. Looks like a little man, and they put a COVID mask on it. It's kind of funny. My wife wanted to get a picture of it. So I hope you enjoyed today's road trip. If you did, please let me know in the comments. Please like. Please get your friends to subscribe. I seem to be still far away from 10,000 subscribers. I'm grateful for those of you who are subscribing. It's growing a lot every day, but still far from 10,000. Help me get to 10,000 subscribers by inviting your friends, your family to subscribe. It's free. They just have to click the subscribe button. They just need a Gmail account. Most people have a Gmail account, especially to access Android stuff. So please do. So on this rest of this road trip will take us to Saddle Road, and you will know when you reach Saddle Road because it bears into like a Y, one passing through Santa Cruz and one turning right onto Saddle Road. That'll be more or less the end of the video. Now you know what it's like driving on the North Coast Road from one end to the other. It's quite a road trip, quite an adventure, as you see. One not to be done by somebody that is inexperienced in driving, and not to be done if you don't have a vehicle adequate to the extent of the roads and the lack of roads where there's mud. That's if you plan to go all the way. And as you can see, there's lots to do. You could go to the beach, you can do a lot of hiking. There are a lot of hiking trails there, but that I wouldn't recommend unless you're going with somebody who knows the trail and you're going in a large group. There's also a lot of other stuff to do, the kayaking, canoeing, whatever it is, the small ATVs, going through the mud, that's an option. But of course most people just come up here for the beach, Maracas beach in particular, or Tarico or Las Cuevas. That's what most people tend to make this long journey for. And some of the roads here will actually take you on the right. When you do see a road, it will take you to Paramin. A lot of people don't know that. You can get straight to Paramin, which is a village on a mountain top. That's another video. Stay tuned. That one has some serious inclines, and again that's a place that you really can't go unless you know how to drive, and you definitely have to engage your 4x4 at some point going up there. It's really steep. A whole adventure in itself, huh? That's one thing about Trinidad. Lots of places to explore, but you really have to know about them beforehand, because you know you could get lost really easily and maybe end up in a place that you shouldn't be. So it's good to have some sort of tour guide, friend, family member, whatever have you, showing you around. But with these videos on JB's Man Cave, you get an idea, huh? You get an idea of where you are going, what you're going to see, and what road you need to take. So if you're actually making a drive, you could even plug into JB's Man Cave, pull up the video and drive along. So if anything looks unfamiliar, you have it right here. Convenience. Of course, if you like what I do and you want to support it monetarily, I am not bashful for donations. They're much appreciated and goes towards helping my children. They are on the spectrum. I am a at-home dad, and most of my, I should say all of my income comes from whatever I do in front of my computer. I have homeschooling and different things, so my ability to get out is hard. So even in these road trips, I actually, it takes a lot of planning and preparation. But it's a good outing for them too, because you know, sometimes we feel like we're in a perpetual pandemic. You know, how, those of you who complain a lot because of the pandemic, or you had to stay home, or you had to do schoolwork at home. Well, in a lot of ways, that's what it's like for a lot of people who are parents of special needs children. They are home most of the time. There aren't specific schools for children with special needs that are suitable. And we used to be part of an organization, yes, an NGO, but we also used to be activists in this area, so I'm very versed in it. There isn't much here for children with special needs. There are private places and whatnot, but you know, these things should be free. Anyway, that's another topic, right? I don't want to spoil your road trip here. This is sort of like the winding down area of the North Coast Road. I believe this is the last ascent. Can't remember. I believe it's the last ascent. More or less it's downhill descent from now. Right here too, you see that cars, you can also park there and get a good picture of Marva and the Gulf Estate. But you know, the day is crappy, so no point doing that today. That's another day. I'm just glad that most of the day it was nice and sunny, so you were able to capture the good parts that I saw. And as usual, you know, going back the other way always looks different. So even if you saw the road trip coming in, it would look totally different to you going back out. So friends, as we make our way out, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. If you haven't invited your friends or family, please do so. I want to reach to 10,000 subscribers. We're on our way there, but this is where I have a little ADHD. I want to get there fast. Then if you like this video, do like it. Click on a thumbs up. And if you're subscribed, make sure to hit the notification bell so you get that immediate notification. So this is the end of the North Coast Road. When we pass these pillars here, these columns, left will take you to Santa Cruz and right to South Road and Marva. Thanks for watching.